Alright, so let's understand the basics of Python. And Python is one of the most interesting and general purpose programming language which has been used so far, and it's gaining popularity everywhere. So in this section we'll talk about what is Python and what are the different things which we need to understand in order to start Python. So very first thing which we want to talk about is how do I going to understand everything. So we'll talk about what is Python interpreter, we'll talk about Python data types, how do we do the type introspection basics, like what is the control structure, how to define functions, how to define classes, errors and expectations, regular expressions, collection protocol, and so much more, right? So I don't want to give you the overwhelming topic names. Rather than that, we want to understand this in a very small and very precise manner, so that you can understand it for data science perspective. So if you talk about the high level programming language, right, if you look the programming languages from a 30,000 square feet view, you will see that any high level programming language converts the machine language in two ways. One is compiler and the second one is interpreter. Now what is this compiler and what is this interpreter? So compilers basically convert high level program to its machine language or CPU instruction code, right? For example, 0101. So any compiler level language, or the languages which are using compilers, they basically check for the syntax and convert the whole program into byte codes, which is 0101. So these languages are very fast, because in terms of execution, because they just convert the whole program in such a way that machine can understand it better in 01 language. So the examples for these languages are like C++, and Java. However, when we talk about interpreters work a little differently. They take each expression, every line of the program, and convert them into machine code and then execute it. So if there is any syntax error in any line of the language, you will get the error only when you will execute the line. So you will not get the error immediately. However, in the compilers enabled machine learning languages, you need to execute the program and then you get the error immediately, right? So they are very much focused on syntax. However, in interpreter language, you will write the code, and once you execute them, then only you will get the error. So there are two different ways you basically execute, and the example is Unix shell. So compilers, any program in compilers, or any definition, or if you say that I want to show you like how compilers are executing the things, basically this is your program over here, and after picking up your program, you have a compiler over here, and this compiler is converting the code into 0101. So you can say the simplest definition of compiler is that something which can convert the code into or any high level programming language into a very low level of code, like assembly language, or you can say that in 01 or 0 like 10 byte code sort of thing. However, the interpreter works a little differently, right? So interpreter is again a computer program which converts each high level program statement into machine code. Right, this includes the source code, precompiled code, and script. So both compiler and interpreter do the same thing. However, in interpreter there is one more stage which is involved, right? So that's the difference between compiler and the interpreters. So what is Python? Python is an interpreted language, right? So Python, we do not call it Python, we call it as Python interpreter. So Python interpreter is a software logic between the code and computer hardware. It takes the program, which is in typically extension of Python file, and convert the program line by line from start to bottom. So if there are 100 lines, it will execute the program line by line. So you'll pick up the code, you will execute them, and then interpreter will go to each and every line and execute that individual line, and then give the information to the computer hardware. Now the question is, why do we choose Python? Now the Python is being chosen because of the several reasons, and why Python is becoming the most popular language, because of several reasons. First, it has got the versatile features. Versatile features mean that it can be used for n number of things, and I'm going to show you which all things it can use. you need to write less number of codes, right? For example, in C++ or Java, you have to write a lot of codes in order to execute a program, like say 300 or 400 lines of code. However, in Python, you have to write very few amount of code, right? Because the way Python is being designed, it is very interactive in nature. That's why it has been used in data science and the step-by-step analytics procedure. It is an interpreted language. It is modular in nature, which means that you can pick up a set amount of code and you can fix it somewhere else. It is very dynamic in nature. It is object-oriented programming language. It is portable in nature, which means that you can compile the code and pick up that particular code block and fix it somewhere else. It is high level and it can also extend its roots in C and C++. So there are several ways you can choose Python. And if you talk about the generic behavior of Python, right, so you will find out that the Python has got diversified application in software development. It can be used for gaming purposes. It can be used for web frameworks and applications. For example, if you want to design any app or website, you can do that with the help of Python. It can be used for language development. It can be used for prototyping, graphical design application. In several cases, it is used for mathematics. So whole artificial intelligence and statistics can use Python to execute the codes. You can use it for artificial intelligence, as I said, Internet of Things, and scripting as well. Apart from that, it has got very huge amount of support from the libraries, which is being updated every now and then by n number of people who are like contributing to it as a language expert. So these libraries basically support you to do string operations. These libraries basically help you do internet protocol things, web services tools, operating system interfaces and protocols, and it is also used for data manipulation. So you see that there are n number of ways Python is being used. Right now, where exactly Python, like you use Python for integration purposes, right? So integration features, Python integrates the enterprise applications as well, which we used for web services. It is also having lots and lots of capabilities which can be used with connection with like C++ or Java. So the Jython is one of the way to connect it with Java. Python also has a lot of support for XML and markup languages, which can run all modern operating system through the same bytecode, right? So Python is being coming up as a all-rounder, application or programming language for most of us, right? So Python can also improve the programmer's productivity because you need to write less amount of code. If you write the same code in Java, VB, or Perl, or any other C++ or C Sharp, you will find that you have to write a lot of heavy codes. And even if you want to use the object-oriented design of these languages, you can use the same thing in Python. So Python can improve programmers' productivity by writing the less amount of code. Now, Python can also increase the productivity because it has got very strong integration features, right? So you have unit testing framework and enhanced control capability, which can contribute towards the increased speed of most application and productivity of application. So it's very good for creating, increasing the productivity as well. Right now, we've talked about almost all sort of thing, right? We want to talk about where we do not want to choose Python, right? So if you want to do something in mobile computing, please try refraining learning Python, because for mobile computing, Python is not a good choice because it gets slower in the speed. It is because it's the interpreter is there, and it add one more layer to execute the code. So it generally gets slowed down when you have very huge amount of code. It gives you runtime errors, right? Runtime errors will always make problems when you have applications in final run. And it has got like little weak connectivity with JDBC and ODBC compliant databases. So it cannot connect with that, right? It is very difficult to get those connectivity in proper place. However, things are getting improved, and there is a huge community which is contributing to this area also, and probably in future we'll get to see that this connectivity is getting better, but right now it's underdeveloped, you can say. All right. So now we have understood how do we actually see Python as an interpreted language. I want to show you how you install Python. Okay. So I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about how to install Python and how to choose an IDE for data science. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.